I thought it was just another ordinary night, until she walked in, and everything I thought I knew about the past, and myself, shifted in an instant. The evening begins like any other. The narrator, a 25-year-old man with a quiet, observant nature, drifts through the softly lit cafe, or perhaps a small gathering at a friend's apartment, feeling the familiar hum of background chatter. He is comfortable in routine, aware of his surroundings, yet detached, lost in the rhythm of ordinary life. A gentle warmth emanates from the ambient lights, casting muted shadows across the wooden tables and polished floors. The faint scent of freshly brewed coffee, or perhaps the lingering aroma of rain on the city streets, adds an understated intimacy to the scene. Then, unexpectedly, she appears. She is in her early 40s, her presence both graceful and quietly commanding, moving through the room with a calm confidence that immediately draws attention without seeking it. Her eyes scan the space with a subtle awareness, and for a moment, the world seems to pause for the narrator. He notices the gentle click of her heels against the floor, the way her posture holds a composed elegance, and even the faint trace of her perfume, delicate yet unmistakable, that seems to linger in the air around her. It is a scent that triggers a memory, something long buried and tender, stirring emotions he had not anticipated. Their eyes meet, briefly, almost accidentally, but the recognition is instant. He feels a curious mix of nostalgia, surprise, and an unspoken longing. It's her. The last person he expected to see tonight. The encounter is quiet, almost mundane to anyone else in the room, yet every small detail, the angle of her smile, the way she tilts her head, strikes him with unexpected intensity. His mind races, trying to process the moment, while simultaneously wanting it to stretch on, to allow him just a little longer to observe, to remember, to take in the contours of her presence. Internally, he reflects on the subtle dissonance of the age gap. She carries a maturity and worldliness that he finds alluring yet intimidating, a warmth in her demeanor that makes his own uncertainties feel sharper. He wonders what she is doing here tonight, what has brought her into this ordinary setting so suddenly. Every instinct tells him to approach, yet the hesitation lingers, born from respect, curiosity, and the unspoken tension that accompanies a connection rediscovered after time has passed. Meanwhile, her own subtle gestures hint at recognition, though she maintains composure. A fleeting glance, a half-smile that touches only her lips, the slight furrowing of her brow as if she, too, is surprised by this unexpected reunion. There is an unspoken question hanging in the air. Do they acknowledge the history, or let it remain dormant, floating between them like a delicate thread ready to be pulled? This moment, brief, almost fragile, is the story's opening heartbeat. The narrator's emotional world has shifted imperceptibly, his ordinary evening colored with the quiet intensity of nostalgia, curiosity, and the first stirrings of romantic tension. From this single, unexpected encounter, the slow burn of connection begins, grounded in sensory richness, subtle gestures, and the magnetic pull of someone who feels at once familiar and entirely new. After the initial surprise of seeing her, the narrator finds himself gradually drawn toward her, though every step is measured. Their first conversation since that unexpected encounter is tentative, almost fragile, carried on a current of shared curiosity and subtle hesitation. He is 26, emotionally observant, and acutely aware of every nuance, how her gaze lingers on his face for a heartbeat longer than necessary, the slight tilt of her head when she listens, and the warmth in her tone that seems deliberately composed yet unexpectedly soft. They speak in small, careful sentences at first, their words polite but tinged with familiarity. The conversation begins with neutral topics, a remark about the gathering, a comment on the music, or a fleeting reference to someone they both know, but under each line is a current of unspoken recognition. Every pause between words is weighted. The narrator notices the little details that tell him more than her speech could, the subtle way she brushes a strand of hair behind her ear, the delicate lift of her eyebrow at something he says, and the warmth in the curve of her smile that seems to reach deeper than casual conversation should. These tiny gestures are magnetic, and he feels an unexpected flutter of tension in his chest. Her presence is sensory in a way that draws him in without overt action. He notices the faint perfume clinging to her coat, the softness of her scarf brushing against his hand when she reaches across to adjust it, and the quiet steadiness in the rhythm of her breathing. The way she laughs, low, sincere, and just slightly hesitant, makes him feel both at ease and alert at the same time. The conversation is punctuated with moments of quiet eye contact, lingering just enough for both of them to sense the undercurrent of mutual curiosity, perhaps even attraction, without crossing any boundaries. Internally, he struggles with a mixture of emotions. There is joy at reconnecting, curiosity about her life and choices, and a twinge of hesitation born from the age gap and the awareness of how much time has passed. He catches himself analyzing every micro-expression, every gesture, wondering if the warmth he feels is reciprocated. There is a cautious dance in their interaction, each waiting, observing, and testing the waters, yet neither pulling away entirely. Physical gestures are small but telling. Her fingers brush his forearm when she hands him a drink. His gaze lingers on her hands, noting their elegance and subtle strength. When he laughs at something she says, she leans slightly toward him, almost imperceptibly closing the gap between them. These touches and glances, gentle and fleeting, are charged with unspoken meaning. They are safe, intimate moments that communicate more than words ever could, an acknowledgement that their connection is being reignited, slow and deliberate. By the end of this encounter, the emotional landscape has shifted. What began as polite recognition has evolved into something tender, fragile, and filled with possibility. The tension is subtle yet undeniable, laying the groundwork for deeper intimacy in the story's next stages. The narrator leaves this moment with a quiet awareness that something meaningful has begun, sparked by a conversation that was simple on the surface but rich with layered emotion, physical nuance, and slow-burning romantic potential. As the evening unfolds, the initial surprise and tentative conversation give way to a deeper, quieter connection. The narrator, now fully aware of her presence, senses that this encounter is more than coincidence. It carries echoes of a shared past. She is in her early 40s, radiating confidence tempered by subtle vulnerability, and he, in his mid-20s, feels an unexpected familiarity mingled with awe at the depth she carries effortlessly. The room, softly illuminated by warm light, seems to shrink around them, focusing the world to just the space they share. They begin to reminisce, careful at first, sharing fragments of memory rather than full stories. Perhaps it's a reference to a long-ago project, a fleeting professional connection, or a chance meeting that left an unspoken impression. Her eyes soften as she recounts moments he had nearly forgotten, the corners crinkling with genuine amusement. He notices the gentle cadence of her speech, the slight pauses when she chooses her words thoughtfully, revealing both self-assurance and an unexpected tenderness. Every detail, the subtle arch of her eyebrows, the way her fingers trace the rim of her coffee cup, adds to the sense of intimacy building silently between them. There is an underlying tension, born not of conflict but of unspoken understanding. He becomes acutely aware of her vulnerabilities, small cracks that she does not fully conceal, a quiet sigh when a memory is bittersweet, the way her hand briefly brushes her temple as if seeking comfort, the slight falter in her smile that hints at past regrets. His own emotions respond instinctively. He feels protective, tender, yet careful not to intrude. He wants to reach out, to reassure her with a gentle touch, but hesitates, aware that their connection is delicate and must be nurtured slowly. The sensory details of the evening enrich the moment. Perhaps they are sitting on a park bench as the night grows cooler, the faint scent of autumn leaves in the air. Or they remain in the soft glow of the cafe, the warmth of the cup in his hands mirroring the warmth of shared familiarity. He notices the subtle warmth radiating from her presence, the slight brush of her arm against his, and the rhythm of her breathing that matches the quiet steadiness of the moment. Each small, seemingly incidental gesture becomes loaded with meaning, her leaning slightly closer when laughing, the way her gaze lingers just a fraction longer than expected. Emotionally, the narrator begins to understand that their connection is layered, informed by history yet capable of new depth. He reflects on the age gap not as a barrier, but as a dimension of her experience and poise that he admires. Simultaneously, he acknowledges his own feelings, curiosity, admiration, and a gentle longing that grows quietly, almost imperceptibly, under the surface. There is a silent, mutual acknowledgement of something unspoken, a tender tension that neither fully names yet both feel. By the end of this part, the evening has transformed from surprise to a shared, intimate recognition of each other's inner world. The slow burn romance deepens as they navigate the uncharted territory of vulnerability and nostalgia, creating a space where emotional intimacy takes precedence over outward action. Touch remains subtle, arm brushes, fleeting hand movements, but each is significant, a precursor to the more overt emotional revelations that will come in the following parts. By now, the evening has shifted into a quieter, more introspective rhythm. The initial surprise, tentative conversation, and shared memories have created a subtle yet undeniable emotional current between them. The narrator, in his mid-20s, feels a heightened awareness of every small gesture she makes. The tilt of her head, the brief pause in her speech, the way her hands rest lightly on the table or cup, conveying more than words ever could. She is in her early 40s, poised yet quietly vulnerable, and the contrast between her composure and the subtle hints of her internal hesitation draws him in deeper. It is in this moment of intimacy, framed by soft lighting and perhaps the gentle murmur of a nearby cafe or the faint rustle of leaves outside, that she makes her first confession of the night. Her words are measured, deliberate, and tinged with a vulnerability that is rare for someone so composed. She might admit a lingering regret, a missed opportunity, or a quiet longing, something that hints at how the past shaped her, and perhaps at the unspoken significance of their connection. Each word seems to linger in the air, heavy with unspoken emotion. The narrator listens attentively, noticing the subtle tremor in her voice, the way her fingers brush together nervously, or the brief downward glance that betrays her guardedness. He experiences an internal whirlwind, surprise, admiration, and a careful awareness of the age gap that separates them yet does not diminish the pull he feels toward her. He senses her courage in sharing something so personal, and is simultaneously drawn to and respectful of her vulnerability. The quiet intimacy of the moment, accentuated by sensory richness such as the faint warmth of her hand on the table near his, the subtle scent of her perfume, and the gentle ambient sounds surrounding them, creates a space where emotions can unfold safely. Physical touches are understated yet meaningful. Perhaps her hand brushes his arm when she emphasizes a point, lingering for a heartbeat longer than accidental. Maybe he reaches slightly closer to offer reassurance, and their fingers almost touch, leaving an electric sense of connection in the pause between gestures. These small, YouTube-safe actions, light arm brushes, proximity while seated, shared glances, communicate a depth of feeling without words. Each touch, glance, and pause becomes a silent language through which their slow burn attraction grows more tangible. The tension in this part of the story peaks emotionally. It is no longer simple curiosity or nostalgia. The vulnerability she reveals opens a channel for emotional intimacy that is as exciting as it is fragile. The narrator grapples with the desire to respond, whether through words, gestures, or quiet presence, while respecting the delicate space she has created. His own reflections reveal a longing that is careful and sincere, grounded in admiration and the recognition of her experience and depth. By the end of this segment, a bridge has formed between them, a quiet acknowledgement of feelings neither is ready to name fully, yet both feel acutely. The slow burn tension now carries a more deliberate weight, with the promise of deeper emotional intimacy, subtle physical connection, and the possibility of love tempered by time, respect, and circumstance. The evening's confession is the pivot around which the next stage of their relationship will unfold, setting the stage for moments of closeness, comfort, and gradual surrender to mutual affection. After her confession, the emotional atmosphere between them shifts subtly. The tension, once sharp with curiosity and hesitation, softens into a gentle intimacy. The narrator, mid-20s, feels an almost magnetic pull toward her, drawn not only to her beauty but to the quiet depth she exudes. She, in her early 40s, radiates confidence tempered by warmth, and in this space, her vulnerability is met with genuine care rather than judgment. The world around them fades slightly. Background chatter, street noise, or the gentle hum of a cafe become mere echoes, leaving them in a bubble of quiet connection. They share ordinary moments that suddenly feel extraordinary. Perhaps they are walking together down a softly lit street, the pavement glistening faintly from a recent drizzle, or sitting side by side on a bench in a park, the night air cool but not uncomfortable. Every sensory detail matters. The way the street lamp casts a warm glow across her face, highlighting the subtle creases at the corners of her eyes when she smiles, the faint scent of her perfume mixing with the crisp evening air, the quiet brush of her hand against his as they navigate the shared space. These small, mundane interactions carry an emotional weight, reinforcing the sense that their connection is deepening in ways neither can fully articulate. Their conversation is relaxed yet meaningful. They talk about small things, books, music, or the night's events, but every word carries a subtext of understanding and appreciation. Pauses in the dialogue are comfortable, not awkward, filled with silent observation and mutual recognition. He notices the slight movements of her body, the way she leans slightly toward him when telling a story, the careful placement of her hands, the rhythm of her breathing when laughing quietly. Each gesture, no matter how minor, is a testament to the unspoken emotional bond that is growing between them. Physical affection remains subtle but deliberate. Her arm brushes against his as they walk, and he feels the warmth of her presence ripple through him. When sitting close, their shoulders occasionally touch, a fleeting reminder of proximity that lingers in the mind long after the contact ends. A shared laugh might lead to a moment where their hands almost meet on the table or along a railing, close enough to feel the faintest hint of connection, yet respectful of boundaries. These touches, though understated, communicate care, curiosity, and the slowly building romantic desire that defines their relationship. Internally, the narrator experiences a mixture of comfort and longing. He appreciates the ease with which she shares space and conversation, while also sensing the subtle tension of unspoken feelings. Her confidence inspires admiration, yet her quiet vulnerability invites tenderness. Every glance, brush of hair, or fleeting touch leaves him acutely aware of her presence, and he begins to anticipate these small moments with both excitement and restraint. By the end of this part, the foundation of their emotional intimacy is solidifying. The slow burn romance is no longer about surprise or rediscovery alone. It has evolved into trust, comfort, and a gentle yearning for closeness. These quiet moments of shared experience, rich with sensory details and YouTube-safe gestures, prepare both characters for deeper emotional exploration and pave the way for the eventual confrontation of fears and desires that will define the next stage of their connection. By now, the quiet intimacy between them has deepened, but with closeness comes the inevitable stirrings of doubt and hesitation. The narrator, mid-20s, feels the weight of his emotions, admiration, longing, and a growing attachment that he cannot ignore. She, in her early 40s, exudes calm confidence but carries her own reservations, the complexities of life, societal expectations, and the age difference that lingers quietly in the background. This part of the story is where the slow burn tension reaches a pivotal moment, shifting from subtle longing to heartfelt honesty. The scene is intimate yet unpressured. Perhaps they find themselves sitting side by side on a quiet bench, walking under the soft glow of streetlights, or lingering in a cozy corner of the cafe where their first conversation unfolded. Ambient details enrich the moment: the faint rustle of leaves, the distant murmur of evening traffic, the faint warmth radiating from shared proximity. Every sensory element underscores the weight and significance of what is about to be said, framing their emotional confrontation with subtle cinematic beauty. One of them, often her, to maintain the story's slow burn rhythm, voice tinged with vulnerability, speaks honestly about fears and desires. She may confess uncertainty about social perception, question whether a relationship across their age gap could be understood by others, or reveal a lingering self-doubt that belies her confident exterior. The narrator listens intently, his senses heightened, the subtle tremor in her voice, the way her fingers twist gently together, the fleeting downward glance before she meets his eyes again. Every movement, every pause, communicates volumes more than the words themselves. He responds with sincere attentiveness, carefully balancing admiration with empathy. His thoughts reveal both internal conflict and clarity, desire tempered by respect, longing mingled with patience. He acknowledges the age gap, not as a barrier, but as a dimension that shapes their connection uniquely. The emotional exchange is punctuated by sensory richness, the warmth of her hand near his, the way her shoulder occasionally brushes against his as they speak, the soft catch in her breath that signals vulnerability. Small, YouTube-safe touches convey reassurance, a hand lightly resting on hers, a gentle squeeze, or the brief nearness of their bodies when sharing a moment of mutual understanding. Through this conversation, tension begins to transform into resolution. Fears are voiced, and mutual respect allows them to be addressed without judgment. Each character recognizes that their emotional bond is real and worthy of exploration, even if it requires careful steps. By the end of this part, a bridge has been built. Honesty and emotional openness create a space where their connection can deepen, free from the hesitation that had lingered in earlier encounters. The slow burn romance solidifies into a promising intimacy. Emotional stakes remain high, yet there is a comforting sense of progress. The combination of verbal honesty, subtle gestures, and sensory-rich details reinforces the story's theme, a connection built on respect, understanding, and the delicate interplay of vulnerability and attraction. This stage sets the scene for the final part, where the character's emotional journey culminates in warmth, closeness, and the gentle affirmation of mutual affection. The story now reaches its quiet, heartfelt culmination. After weeks, or perhaps just hours, of slow, deliberate connection, the narrator and she have traversed the spectrum of emotions: surprise, curiosity, vulnerability, longing, and honest confrontation. Each step of the journey has been underscored by subtle gestures, sensory detail, and YouTube-safe expressions of affection. Now, in this final part, the emotional tension gently releases, leaving a sense of warmth, intimacy, and promise. The scene is calm and intimate, allowing both characters to exist fully in each other's presence. Perhaps they are walking down a softly lit street, the night air cool but comforting, carrying the faint scent of rain or freshly turned earth. Or maybe they are seated in a quiet corner of the cafe, the same place where their conversation first deepened, the ambient lighting casting soft shadows across their faces. Every detail of the setting reinforces the story's atmosphere of tender, human warmth, the gentle murmur of other patrons, the soft creak of a wooden chair as she shifts closer, the quiet rhythm of their synchronized breathing as they sit side by side. Emotionally, both characters have reached a place of mutual recognition and acceptance. The narrator feels a profound appreciation for her depth, her grace, and the quiet vulnerability she has allowed him to witness. He notices the subtle movements that speak volumes, the way her fingers brush against his as they adjust a shared item, the gentle tilt of her head when she laughs, the lingering gaze that communicates more than words ever could. She, in turn, radiates relief and quiet joy, sensing that her honesty and openness have been received with care, understanding, and respect. Their emotional connection feels solid, intimate, and balanced, transcending the initial hesitations that the age gap or past uncertainties may have imposed. Physical gestures remain understated yet significant. Perhaps their hands finally meet, fingers intertwining naturally, the touch both deliberate and effortless. She leans slightly closer, her shoulder resting near his, the warmth of their proximity grounding both of them. A soft smile, a lingering glance, or a gentle brush of hair from her face conveys trust and affection, establishing the depth of their bond without the need for overt dialogue. These gestures, carefully crafted, are YouTube-safe yet emotionally resonant, signaling the fulfillment of the slow-burn tension that has built throughout the story. Internally, the narrator reflects on the journey they have shared. He understands that this connection is not about haste but about presence, respect, and the careful nurturing of intimacy. The story's slow burn has allowed emotions to unfold organically, transforming surprise and uncertainty into meaningful closeness and mutual admiration. He feels a sense of calm excitement, a knowledge that their relationship, while just beginning in its new form, carries the promise of depth, trust, and shared joy. The evening closes on a quiet, emotionally satisfying note. Whether they continue walking under the night sky, sharing a final laugh over a private joke, or simply sitting side by side in comfortable silence, the story ends with a sense of completeness. The slow burn romance is fully realized, subtle, tender, and deeply human. Their connection, built through shared vulnerability, respectful touches, and unspoken understanding, now holds a warmth and promise that lingers long after the night has passed. The last person he expected to see that night became the one whose presence transforms the ordinary into something quietly extraordinary, leaving both characters, and the audience, with a sense of hope, connection, and heartfelt fulfillment.